So.
Do you need a...
No, I think I got it. I don't know. I'm trying to stream live on Rumble, so I'm trying to figure out how I can do that too. So, I'm like,
Yeah, I need to like start doing that because I end up rewinding and recording my show to put it as an archive instead of directly streaming over there. I think you need to have you have to run your whatchamacallit, OCD or whatever that's called. OCD.
Actually, Rumble has a setting now that is called Rumble Studio. Are you listening? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
OCR.
Oh man.
I think it is. I just don't care enough to do it. I just don't care.
Okay. Hold on a second. Can you hear me? Okay. You still there? Or did I get cut off? Uh-oh. Trying to reconnect. Can you hear me now?
We have no evidence of that.
Oh, there you go.
But he was Ukrainian. Hello? We hear you now.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I need a better computer right now. That's all there is to it because it's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's just my computer. It's old. It needs to be updated and all sorts of stuff. And so it was no. But I was going to say is Rumble has features now called Rumble Studio where you can bypass all of that. You just have to, and it works a lot like YouTube. So if you just do YouTube live stream. I actually worked on it last Thursday morning, and we were playing around with it, and yeah. So I'm still playing with it.
Right, I've done. See, but the thing is, though, that you have to have a multi-streamer to be able. So you would have to stream on your Rumble, and then you would have to take the like have a double screen, and then you would have to take the session in PBS at Patriots Soapbox and do a screen capture of your other screen, which is streaming on Rumble. So you would be recording a recording that would be going onto Patriots Soapbox.
Not with Rumble Studio. Basically, you just shared the as long as your Zoom meeting through Patriot Soapbox is in a browser, you can share screen on Rumble and just share your Patriot Soapbox screen. So. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, you can explain it to me later if it works. Because what I do is I leave here, I rewind the Rumble 2 hours to the beginning of my show, and then I just let it play in my office for 2 hours to record it, to put it over there. And it's not a big deal, but when Rumble goes down, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
But I now have since realized, I could get it off of, the stream is actually saved off on X. And I just never thought of that. So when I had the missing episode, I went over on X and found it and played that and recorded it and put it on my channel to get that missing episode up there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my problem is between my bandwidth and all sorts of. I'm. They're getting ready to. I'm getting ready to lose Microsoft 10, but I'm having issues with there's something corrupted in one of my drivers or something, and I'm having issues with installing other apps. So I'll figure it out. But
Well, the Microsoft update
mm-hmm.
is the thing that's heinous about it is they have like this trusted, I forget what it's called, trusted build, kind of like Dominion. And anything old that you try to load on your machine, it like says, "Oh, we can't trust this old software." Like if you had an old copy of Adobe or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
it says like this is not a trusted source. And so you can't, it's forcing everybody to not use old owned software that you may have had, like an old copy of Photoshop or whatever. It's super annoying. So yeah, that's something I've had to deal with on both my personal computer and my work laptop. So, it's always something. They
Mm.
get you coming and going.
Well, it's really irritating when you expect Zoom to work. You come in, you have everything all set up, and then you can't even open, and you're doing this at the last minute. It's like, are you kidding me? And so it's very annoying, very frustrating. I get flustered because I don't know what I'm doing half the time when it comes to computer stuff. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. But anyhow, so I got well. So anyway, so there you are. It's crazy. It's very frustrating, very crazy, and right now I'm using Zoom through Microsoft Edge, so that's my browser, and that's the way it's gonna be for right now.
Alrighty. Well, I'm gonna get go here. I got like a lot of stuff to do. And so I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Good job.
Uh, for last week, I worked on writing and so I was like basically I get it.
I mean, I always have more than enough material, that's for sure.
So, but anyway, well, thank you, and
Alrighty. Well, I'll see you guys later.
okay. Oh, I need to open up that. I don't even have my show open. So, guy, hi everybody. This is Patriot, who is an unaccompanied veteran. So anybody in our Patriot family, we try not to leave any men left behind, including when it comes to burials. So we have an unaccompanied veteran burial. Kenneth White Jr., United States Air Force, Wednesday, July 16, 2025, 11 a.m. sharp at the Texas State Veteran Cemetery in Abilene, 7457 West Lake Road in Abilene, Texas. So if you can make it, that'd be great. Um, I I did when I was in Corpus. I did 3, and I tell you what, every one of them's different. It just depends on some of these soldiers, and that's included that's included Navy, that's included Marines, that's included Space Force. I think Corpus recently just had their first Space Force, even though Space Force hasn't been around very long. I think recently they just had their first Space Force burial not too long ago. If I remember correctly, I could be wrong on that. Uh, veteran burial. Kenneth White Jr., United States Air Force, Wednesday, July 16th, 2025. And when they say 11 a.m. sharp, they mean sharp. So I would always suggest get there about 15 minutes early so you can find a seat. And Texas State Veteran Cemetery at Abilene, 7457 Westlake Road, Abilene, Texas. Okay, and let's see. It doesn't let me pause sharing. Let me. All right, I'm gonna pause. I guess they finally changed the name to another 17th, 2025. Federal State Veteran Cemetery, Board, Texas. And if you can that, that would be great. Let's show no time again. Jerry Air Force 2025 so there's that. I was literally on the, I think of as H. There's Los Postos, there's Wood, and Laguna is right in the middle. So again, I was actually on one of those sides, the side streets. Like depending on what you read, what time they said it started. I was there like an hour prior to the so-called raid. I was actually there. I'm looking at this thing. I said, no, that's a lie. I was there, and that there was nothing. I'm telling you guys, there was nothing to indicate that there was going to be a raid like an hour ahead of time. And I know they should, they're not going to show you, going to tell you, but there was nothing. In fact, so I kind of take you back a little ways. About 2 or 3 weeks ago, when it's like a Saturday or Sunday, I was driving down Los Postos. I went to go get coffee or something, and I noticed that there was this cardboard box turned upside down, and it had the word ICE and a straight on the side road on the side of the road. And then probably the last 2 weeks, there was, if you go down Los Postos, they had what I call a construction crew or road crew. Those road crews that says you got to stop and slow down, and because it's a 2-lane road, and it's and the road, so the crew would close on one side of the road, and you had to bypass it. So the crew members would actually tell you where to go, right? How to walk down it. So I'm telling you guys, there's more to this that is meeting the eye. They're not telling you everything. So it says federal investigation or federal immigration agents carried out immigration sweeps at 2 Southern California cannabis farms on Thursday, arresting about 200 suspected undocumented, illegals, and prompted a heated standoff between authorities and hundreds of protesters at a Ventura County site, and reports of a farm worker being critically injured. So, video shared on social media showed nearly a dozen agents using so-called less lethal ammunition in a crowd that had gathered near Glass House Farms, a large licensed cannabis greenhouse in Camarillo. Meanwhile, 35 miles up the coast in Carpinteria, federal agents entered another Glass House Farms growing site where a smaller crowd gathered around the perimeter. The United Farm Workers Union was told one worker fell over a greenhouse at the Camarillo location. And I probably should get a picture of that from the street so y'all could see exactly where it is. But I'm telling you, there was nothing. On Friday morning, United Farm Workers official Elizabeth Strader said the person was taken from the Ventura County farm by ambulance. The UWF later said the worker died, but on Friday afternoon, a local hospital said he was critically injured. So here you go. They're trying to spin it. The worker's name was not released, and local enforcement officials could not immediately provide any details. Could not, right? Not as opposed to would not. Could not. Why? Who knows why? Andrew Dowd, a spokesperson for the Ventura County Fire Department, confirmed that people were transported from in and around the Camarillo facility Thursday afternoon to local hospitals for injuries. And he said he did not have information on the extent of those injuries or the current status. Dowd said an additional 4 people were treated at the scene for minor injuries. He said he did not know how many people were injured in the facility or outside at the related protest. So my question is, how did they find out about this raid, and how long did it take for these so-called protesters to get there? Well, here's the thing: it's a marijuana farm, and since then reports are saying that they had children there. 10 children were rescued out of this place. U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley confirmed in a statement on X that federal agents had executed a search warrant at a marijuana farm. You're not able to see this, are you? Is it not showing up? Oh, I did not share that. I thought I shared that. It's not sharing. Okay. I'm realizing that it's not sharing. Whoops. Is it not sharing at all? Let's see. He said they arrested several individuals on suspicion of impeding the operation, and warned people who continue to interfere would be arrested and charged with offense. A spokesperson for the said that it was investigating a shooting that occurred. Yeah, I seen that there was a video that said that showed a guy apparently shooting into the crowd or shooting at ICE agents. Video captured by ABC 7 News appeared to show a protester opening fire at federal immigration agents after smoke canisters were thrown to disperse the crowd. 10 minors, okay, minors. Yeah, people are saying, well, I've been working at the fields at 14. Well, there's a slight difference. I mean, I know in Texas, you can't work until you start 15 is the legal age in Texas that you can work, and then you have to get special permission from parents to start working. You can't just hire somebody at 14 to work in Texas unless they change those laws. So 10 minors of occupation were found at the farm during the raid, 8 of whom were unaccompanied. U.S. Customs and Border Protection Commissioner Rodney Scott said in a statement on X. The facility is now under investigation for child labor violations, he said. Cesar Ortiz before told a Times photographer in Spanish that his brother worked at the farm was paying and being held in a hot container with air conditioning. Uh, See, okay, I fully doubt that. It's possible, I guess, but you know what? Nobody seemed to care when the J6ers were in the gulags, and they had, you know, they were treated even worse than the immigrants or the illegals are. They're taking everyone, and the truth is, it's not right because these people come to work, struggle every day to earn every day. He said, "It feels like we exist, but there are no narcos here. No one is armed here, and they come armed but full of military personnel." Camarillo Fire Department was dispatched around 12:15 p.m. to provide aid as a result of federal enforcement activity along Laguna Road in Camarillo. I'm telling you, this was like an hour. I was on that road an hour. It was literally 1 hour prior to that, and there were no signs. So I don't know how quickly that happened, but I'm telling you. And you know, and the road crew, something else. The road crew, it was gone. So for about every day for like the last 2 or 3 weeks, we had this road crew. You know, so I don't know if that was a part of it, traffic control. I don't know if the road crew was part of that, because Friday the road was completely clear. We didn't have any slowdowns or anything. Let's see. According, allegations for treatment and 4 were treated on the scene. Sheriff's deputies were dispatched to assist with traffic control, but were not involved in any way with the federal operation, he said. Dowd also noted that the fire department has no connection with federal immigration enforcement actions, so never asked for patients' immigration status. But yet, if you go into the hospital, my mother, when my dad had one of his strokes, and they had to go to the hospital, I mean, they literally, they literally came in while the doctors were still evaluating them and asking treatment. They wanted to know how they were going to get paid. Figure. There's so many and friends who work here at the glass house factory. It's a huge factory. We were notified that the people working were all being detained, whether they were U.S. citizens or not. Well, you know what? You know, it's like, I don't know if you saw the video I did. I don't know the guy, but he says if the locals would help, a lot of the innocents would not be caught in these sweeps if they would just help at all. So, whether they were U.S. citizens or not, says Angel Marie Taylor, who is with the 805 Immigration Coalition, volunteer organization that immigration activity by federal agents. Are these an app that was developed for them to track? And I don't understand how they can track I don't know, how do they do that? Or is it that people see something suspicious and they start texting everybody? I don't know, but you know, I thought, you know, it's funny that they you had another group that were countering that. So about 500 people out near the farm during the day as of around 6:30 p.m. Yeah, my daughter said, "Don't go down Los Posas." There's still 200 protesters at the site. Were around 40 troops holding shields, and agents made a stand. They were also asking people to put away their phones. I saw something about that too. They were, you know, basically, you know. So Mark Cohost, investor and famed short seller who has invested in glass all they beyond wages. The government is aware of cartels, illicit crime, and yet they decide to spend resources going after a total legal company that pays the state of California hundreds of millions of dollars excise tax. Well, guess what? It's been reported that this guy from the Glass House also donates to good old Gavin Newsom too. He added that Glass House is the largest cannabis cultivator in the world, a highly regulated business fully licensed by the state of California with the site in Ventura County and Santa Barbara County. It's run by a guy named Kyle Kazan, who is an ex-cop, placed by the rules, who ended by the book. Kazan added he is a supporter of President Trump. I don't know if that's true or not. What I heard is that actually that's the name that I was given or that I saw was somebody else. That's not the name that was that I had been seeing that was thrown. Ortiz brother was detained Thursday. Said he had a message from we all have to come here and work. Here we all have a dream. We have to. Yeah, you have right to come legally. Okay, farther north in Carboneira, U.S. Rep. Salud Carbajal of Santa Barbara attempted to enter the marijuana farm after hearing reports of immigration, but was not led past the mass federal agents who formed a perimeter along the road about 75 yards from the raid. It was disproportionate, Carbajal said. These tactics are creating an incendiary hostile environment the way they're being deployed, which to regret. Well, you never stop and just get out of the way that the agents go and do what they need to do. I'm sure they wouldn't fight if they didn't have to do all these raids. Wow, oh man. Okay, well, I'm just going to keep going. I know y'all don't seem to be interested in this. Let's see. He identified himself as a Congress member conducting oversight, but said he was told by contact immigration or ICE and was turned away. A crowd had gathered around the perimeter, but he said they dispersed after agents backed up and boarded military-style vehicles. You mean like Humvees? Camarillo news helicopter showed dozens of workers sitting in the shade alongside a warehouse with federal agents. Protesters blocked the roads in and out, and at one point, federal agents drove their vehicles through. Multiple ambulances had gone in and out of the facility. You know, that's just something else that's dangerous to do. If somebody hurt in the ambulances, there's a law that says you have to be like 500 feet from an ambulance when it's coming down the road or any emergency vehicle. Is to keep you from getting hurt, and so you're actually impeding these ambulances from getting these people help if they need it. Yeah, Jen, that's a good question. How many of us have been I-9 with an employer since 1986? I did when I got hired for a school district in Ventura County. So Sarah Armstrong, outreach chair for the Americans for Safe Access, said Homeland Security and the U.S. National Guard were looking at location firing jets and rebels in Camarillo. Zuckerberg of Central Alliance United for Sustainable Economy or Cause said Thursday that the organization had staffers on the ground after reports of a raid at Glass House, but he asked them to leave once federal agents started deploying. Yes, vast area is largely remote farmland. I drive that. I drive that at least once a week. I'm on that road. I mean, I would say all the time, and when I say all the time, I mean about once a week. So I see it. I mean, and you know, isn't it ironic that they keep saying, "Oh, who's going to pick your food? Who's going to pick your food?" Well, first of all, this is a marijuana place. So, how many people actually eat drink, or maybe you get a marijuana smoothie, or you eat the marijuana hash or brownies for breakfast? You know, how many people do that? I don't think there's any case that they were under as a small crowd. I mean, you just saw the report where it was 5. That doesn't sound like a small crowd to me. A crowd of community members at pretty remote agricultural areas. Well, if they're impeding buses, really? It has been targeted by immigration authorities in a couple of months, including when federal agents began the region and did numerous videos on social media. Yeah, you're going to trust everything on social media. Showed agents chasing farm workers making massive remarks. Glass House in a post on X that he was visited today and with agent search warrants. The statement that the company would provide further updates necessary. Zucker said Ventura County saw a drop in worksite raids after an intense week in June when community members mobilized to the fields and began building farmlands. For the last few weeks, he said they received reports of raids in more suburban areas, including Simi Valley and Thousand Oaks. This raid represented the first major workplace raid in the region since then. In a social media post, Mayor Lewis MacArthur said he was in communication with the emergency services to ensure the safety personnel were on standby and ready to provide immediate assistance if necessary. While this matter is taking place outside the jurisdiction of Oxnard, I am increasingly mindful that many of the facility's employees are likely from Oxnard and are seeking refuge in their vehicles amid the high temperatures, raising concerns about safety and well-being of those individuals, he said. He then commented on the border strategy apparent from the raids across the land, saying increasingly that the acts taken by ICE are bold and aggressive, demonstrating insensitivity toward the direct impact on our community. These actions cause unnecessary distress and harm. I remain committed to working alongside or to explore potential legal avenues to address these activities. Tom Homan, Trump's border advisor, criticized the protests. What happened in California is just another example of protesters becoming criminals. And they've been emboldened by members of Congress who cover ICE to mention and talk to Fox News. How nice. He is a little bird to Tom Homan. One little quote. So this is another. So this is why I need something. So this is a report out of LA, Los Angeles. So dozens of detained here grass. Let me try to get that zoom a little bit. Protesters during immigration in Turkey after business Thursday. The immigration rate around that there's no way I mean, like most I would have been. I'm telling you, I noticed at 10 or 11 a.m. So this is me fired up. Sky 5 showed a large federal law enforcement presence in nearby fields with witnesses saying agents were detaining workers. Tensions during the immigration enforcement operation escalated in the U.S. Customs and Border Protection agents began firing tear gas on a crowd that had started to gather. Sky 5 roadways on both North and South Laguna Road, and protesters gathering on the front lines. So you see these videos, you see these. I don't know if I want to. The scene escalated on. That hour. That's like an hour and 45 or 15 minutes after I traveled that way, when tear gas had been deployed into the crowd. Police were requested to the scene to treat multiple injuries in the incident, according to KTLA's Rick Prickett. By 1:48 p.m., Sky 5 had a view of at least 30 people sitting against the wall with their hands together and brown in front of more detainees around the area, possibly waiting to be taken to a detention center. It was not immediately clear whether any of the detainees were protest-related arrests. While protesters were clashing with law enforcement, at the same time, paramedics set up a triage system. Oh my gosh, triage nearby for individuals injured from the tear gas. Paramedics cannot set closer to the scene due to ongoing operation. So KTLA spoke with Ventura County's District Supervisor Viney has live on air, who described the incident as a very unfortunate situation. Well, it is unfortunate. It's unfortunate that raids are not only aren't taking place, but they are having to take place to get, to find all the missing children, finding people who've been trafficked, and people want to stand in front. Think about it. I mean, if these people had nothing to fear, you would think that they would, cooperate instead of getting it to the point where, the enforcement has to use whatever force necessary. I mean, I'm sure that they would love to just de-escalate or have the situation not even escalate at all. I'm there's a few rogue agents, but how many of them are just their brothers, their sisters, their parents, their sons and daughters. They want to come home too. They do. They don't want to get into altercations. Probably, I bet if they, wouldn't it be nice just to go in, serve a warrant, say, okay, we need you to come down and answer some questions. So what is happening is that there are people on site, potentially undocumented individuals, who are questioned and interrogated. At this point, we don't know how many people have been detained. However, Lopez pointed out that she received a report that 2 vans carrying out 2 people were seen leaving the location. It is a situation that is very concerning for the safety of those showing anger and disappointment in what's happening to hard-working people in the community. Well, I mean, here's the nobody, and okay, I could go back to some of the awful things that were talked about during the floods, but that's not the issue. Really, it's the fact that, if you've been here 20 years, why didn't you get legal? Why did you go to the proper channels? Why didn't you have a visa that's been expired. Why not go renew it? Just do whatever do without having to people to ask. About 4 p.m., Mr. Swell, as they came face to face with a line of heavily armed federal agents. Military trucks, potentially from the National Guard, arrived on the scene around 4:30 as other law enforcement exited the roadway. Dozens of detained workers were still visible, needed to be transported to the scene. Around 4:45 p.m., it began loading detainees into unmarked gray vans to be transported to an unknown location. Well, guess what? You go rob a liquor store or something, and then you're going to get detained and be sent to an unknown location. Camera raid carried a simultaneous operation at the Glass House, second location in Carpinteria, located about 2 miles northwest in Santa Barbara County. During that operation, Congressman Salud Paul Santa Barbara to enter the area according to federal late agents that was denied access and turned around. Carbajal made the statement, yeah, of course he would. Following the enforcement operation, he described conspiracy. What they're supposed to tell you? They're going to go to these places to serve a warrant ahead of time. Why? So more people could show up at the wrong time, and more people can probably get hurt. From the Department of Homeland Security, since the administration began its high-profile immigration bust in California. I mean, President Trump. I mean, how many people we for one of the reasons Trump got elected because people want illegals to go the right way. They want legal people here and streaming our system. We're tired of being robbed. I will be, I'm sure, be demanding answers from the Department of Homeland Security, who they detained and where the detainees are being taken. Reads in part. These militarized ICE raids are not how you keep our country safe. This kind of chaos only has families and tears communities apart. So, have a member. Go have a family member who gets arrested for a DUI. That drives a family apart. How about when someone goes out and gets arrested for being in the wrong place, and their fight breaks out, and your family member who may not have anything to do with it gets swept in. Maybe just a bystander, and he gets swept up in what happened. So that's not traumatizing for people? Okay. Let's see. Do you see this picture? Okay. I'll see this picture. So here's the action. Show me immigration. I see smoke in there. Does this picture that? Does this one be supposed to be with? I'll wait. Does that remind you of anything? It keeps pausing. Oh man. Yeah, it's because I'm not able to use my Zoom app. That's So does this one another picture you remember? Uh, first, first administration and the border. Oh, there's this one, her, pulling her girl alongside the what like beach, and supposedly it was tear gas, and then we have it. Oh yeah, it's debunked. It wasn't true. So, like I said, I've seen the video. There's smoke over here, but where's the smoke anywhere? That is the smoke, everybody. That is. And if you listened a couple of weeks ago, I think it's Truck Talk. It's either Truck Talk or Captain Kyle. It was Captain Kyle. He says these false flag events are going to amp up during July. Just think, we've got 19 more days to go till July's over. So yeah, so that guy Captain Kyle, he's sitting there saying that you're going to have more of these kind of things happening. So do y'all see the comparison picture to show you? But do you remember that picture that was from? I wonder if I could find it. Hey, Dynamax, you want to come in? I can try to open up the phone line if you'd like to come in. If I can remember it. Alright, so guess what? This is actually out of California. It's an official California website, Department of Campus Control. So California's Unified Cannabis Task Force seizes over $245 million worth of unlicensed cannabis products in 2024. Go figure, right? So they're trying to say that this glass house is legal. Here's what they, but this isn't anything new, right? News actually has a task force for this stuff. So Gavin Newsom today announced the ongoing Unified Cannabis Enforcement Task Force, which seized and destroyed. Now this came in February, so this is several months old, but here you go. Seized and destroyed 254 million unlicensed cannabis and products during 2024. This UCETI concentrated its enforcement efforts on illegal cultivation, retail, and delivery services, while also focusing on operations to enhance consumer safety. So these efforts led to significant strides in combating the illegal cannabis market. And if what has been reported true, if this glass house is actually given to, although the report said that the guy, I heard it was a different guy, and that he gave to, I heard the owner was a different man. I don't know. Maybe they're even though they're two facilities connected. Maybe one owns one facility. I don't know. Maybe they're brothers or something. But I heard another name. Oh, I heard another man, or I saw. Let me rephrase that. I saw that another man owned that glass house farms, and that he had contributed to Gavin Newsom. So that, I don't know what the true story is on that one. So highlights from the year's enforcement actions include 2.2 million pieces of illegal packaging removed from unlicensed market, 154,000 pounds of illegal cannabis seized. There's the thing, they're sitting there saying that marijuana in California is legal. They're doing it because they can't get the money. Right? 6,000 illegal cannabis plants eradicated, 39 firearms confiscated, $748,146 seized, 35 arrests made. So according to the value of cannabis in 2024, the top counties, look at this, top counties for UCET enforcement activities are Alameda, Mendocino, Shasta, Kern, and Los Angeles. So you're looking at over 100 million here, 52 million here, over 26 million here, 10 million here, 10 million here. So as part of its efforts to combat illegal activity across the supply chain, UCET worked with multiple agencies under Operation Grab Bag to crack down on unlawful cannabis packaging in the Los Angeles Toy District. The California Department of Tax and Fee Administration led operation, resulting in the seizure of 2.2 million pieces of illegal cannabis packaging designed to target children. So here's a question: why were children at this farm? If it, I mean, they're sitting there saying that this farm was running legal. It was a legal marijuana farm, but why were children there? Why were minors there? I think that was the main target, is the children. It's, saving the children. California is dedicated to eradicating illegal operations that jeopardize public safety, harm our environment, and undermine the regulated market, said Department of Cannabis Control Director Nicole Elliott. The progress made in 2024 highlights the strength of our parties across state, local, and federal agencies, and we look forward to building on these efforts in the year. So UCETF served 150 warrants in 46 cities across 20 counties. Counties with the highest search warrant activity are Los Angeles, Trinity, Kern, Mendocino, Tulum, Shasta, Alameda, and Orange. Interesting that they stay away from Ventura, huh? So this is just the top 10, right? 6, 7, 8, top 8. So here's another article that was from April 10th, 2025. So let's see, enforcement efforts continue to focus on operations that ultimately supported the licensed and community safety, Sacramento. So they had 316 million worth of illegal cannabis seized in the first quarter of 2025. I mean, if they're seizing all this money or all this illegal, why is it that California is so broke? Why? I mean, of course, we know why, but really. I'm kind of reading. Yeah, I agree. The illegal grows are run by. Well, what's the possibility that Newsom is in bed with the cartels? Let's see. there's some, like I said, there is something more to this story. Dinah makes your funny text all vices. So, like I said, I literally this. Did anybody catch this? I don't even know if I've even read it already. This is, oh yeah, I did. Defund Biden's cash payments to the Taliban. This came out a month ago, or almost a month ago. Today, House Affairs Committee Chairman Brian Mast issued the following statement after the House voted in favor of a bill sponsored by Representative Tim Burchett to ensure no more U.S. tax dollars fall into the hands of the Taliban after the administration paid the terrorist regime millions of dollars following the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. This bill makes sure not a single penny of American tax dollar or American taxpayer money ends up in the hands of the Taliban, not directly, though not through back doors and not via weak-willed foreign governments or shady NGOs. So if you're funding the Taliban, you're no friend of the United States. The issue has been a key focus for House Republicans since last Congress, when lawmakers were made aware that weekly cash payments or shipments of nearly $40 million were being sent to Afghanistan's Taliban-controlled central bank. $40 million a week. God, think about that. A week. That is well over $100 billion a year. Additionally, the Special Inspector for Afghanistan Reconstruction reported in May 2024 that $10 million had been paid to the Taliban in the form of taxes. So they took over Afghanistan. So our taxpayer money are actually paying their taxes, or paying them our taxes. Took over Afghanistan in August of 2021. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken later around $10 million had been paid to the Taliban in the form of taxes after testifying to the committee in 2024. So I don't know what this is right now, but it is. I need to turn that over the whole, the whole PSYOP stuff. I mean, I know Dano and I talk about it briefly just about every week. It's just holding on to your hats. But did y'all see that? Did y'all miss where Biden's doctor came on and Biden's doctor went before the committee this week, and he played the fifth. He actually pleaded the fifth, saying, that basically asked him, did you know about Biden's competence or incompetence? And he basically said that he pled the fifth. He would not admit. Yeah, come on in, Dano. The water's fine. What is it about California that struck me most when I moved here? It's a pretty state. I'm used to flat land. In Texas, there's a lot of flat. Although there are mountains in Texas, you got to go towards the Panhandle. But a lot of Texas is flat, and the streets are flat. I do think the roads here in California are better than some of the places I've seen in Texas. The lanes are bigger. Most of they're different. It's different here. I could drive 30 miles in between 30 to 45 minutes easy. Uh, I'm surrounded where I'm at. I'm surrounded by a lot of farmland. Uh, GC Page, was it a red cardinal? Cardinal. I've heard that cardinals mean that the Holy Spirit, the angels are there. We have had yeah, Biden's doctor. We've actually had a few earthquakes. I tell you what, as far as tremors go, I feel like nearly every day. I feel like at about 4 o'clock in the morning, I feel a tremor in my bed. But you really, I know one thing. You don't see. I don't see that many police patrol cars out that often. I mean, I can go months without seeing a patrol car, then I'll see two or three in a day. But for the most part, I don't see a lot of police. Although I don't know if it's because of the ice stuff that's happening. I am seeing a little bit more uptick in police on the roads now. Yeah, did y'all see? Oh, that's another thing. Good vibes. Did you guys see that where TSA is no longer requiring you to take off your shoes? You know, people were talking about that. Mm, I'm sorry about that, omnidirectional. I know one thing, they use a lot of fear porn too. I mean, oh my gosh. And I don't know what happened. I had a coworker, and I heard only part of the conversation, but I don't know. There's someone, you know. I don't know. I think you just have to. I know you just have to be careful what you say to who you say it and who you're around in California. I know there's some people that are very rude, but you're going to find that in just about anywhere. Uh, I've I've seen. Hey, Michael J. I hope everything's going well with you. Um, did I see the thing with the cats migrating to? No, let's see. Wow. I know one thing though. If I know people say, "Why don't we just give California back to Mexico?" Well, you think about it. Um, we the support that the United States, there's California has, I believe, if what I did my research, I think California has most of the military bases. And I think they military puts in about $900 million into the local economy. And if you were to take away the local, you take away all the military bases, all the military support in California. I don't know. I don't know. That's a toughie because to me, because think about it, we still would need some sort of a presence just to defend the U.S. from California. I don't know. I don't remember the newest Fed judge to block. These people are stupid. Um, but did y'all also see where there are people in protesters? There's protesters supposedly. Okay, I'm gonna say allegedly. There's protests going on in Mexico against Americans that are. Uh, they're like, these are retired Americans. They go to Mexico because the American dollar is worth more, and they're basically taking over neighborhoods. And I'm thinking, when I was reading some comments about that, I'm thinking, well, you kind of know what, it's funny how it's the same thing's happening here, but it's on the opposite scale. Instead of, you can't afford anything, the neighborhood's being taken over. But the thing is the illegals is not just about Mexico. You got people from Honduras. You got people from Somalia. We got people from China. We got people from the Middle East. You know, it's that's the whole thing. It's not just about Mexico, but everybody focuses on Mexico. So, I mean, even Canadians, but I mean, I was friends with people from Canada before. I mean, I, I see whenever I talk to a person, if you speak English, I don't care who you are. If you're speaking English, I'm assuming you're American. If you happen to speak Spanish as a second, if you speak Spanish, I figure you're American. I don't really question immigration status on people. I just assume, but with all the, everybody getting it, with immigration being such a hot topic and illegal immigration, it's kind of opened my eyes and it makes me question now, you know, on some people. Some people I'm around. I know there's I'm just gonna I know that the school there's a couple of schools around here. They have students that are from Armenia. Their background is Armenian. I tell you what, Clifford, if you want to, I'm gonna be loading. I'm gonna load this to my Rumble. So if you want to look at the replay on Rumble, you can. And I don't. Oh no. Oh, good grief. I I've got to figure out what's going on with my computer, and it's just really. I was really hoping that I could do a live stream on Rumble today, but I think when I have more than one, I probably should have done Zoom through Firefox or through Chrome instead of Microsoft Edge. So. But yeah, like I said, do not buy all that hype. I mean, so. Hey, Michael, if you want to come in, you're more than welcome. If there's a show host or someone with the keys to get into Zoom, you're more than welcome, and we can talk about what's going on. Unless somebody wants me to open the phone lines for the next 15 or 20 minutes. It was so Clifford, the farm, the Glass House Farm, which was it was an marijuana farm. I mean, I drive that every week. I'm there. I've driven past that, all the time. And I mean, there's like 3 or 4 different farms or lands. Now I don't know if they're all open. They're all owned by the same people. But the raid that happened, it literally, I know, this is, like I said, this is what got me all fired up. I literally was on one of the adjacent roads like an hour prior to the raid. I did not see any sign of any vehicles on the road an hour prior to the raid. There was one report saying that it started at 11 o'clock, and I'm like, what are you talking about? I was there. There was nothing there. And then all of a sudden there's this, so I literally, like an hour, I missed it by an hour. And So that got me really steamed. I'm just like, are you kidding? Okay, media is exaggerating. They're lying again. It's not what it seems. Then it comes out that this is a marijuana farm. Now I do not know, because one one report, there was that one article I read that said that the owner of the farm was a Trump supporter. I also saw on social media that the owner was a different name, and that uh, he actually support gave $10,000 to Gavin Newsom. So I do not know. I'm telling you, I do not know what the actual truth on that is. But we know that media lies. So, and you can get false information for social media too. So, so if you want to dig, if you want to do a dig and see who was, but they found what, 10 miners there at the farm, supposedly working the fields, and 8 of those 10 were unaccompanied. In other words, they were not with family members. So who was actually being their guardians? So that's a question. Yeah, I agree. That's all. Well, that's the thing. I see the fields. I don't, because I know there are times that I pass the fields and it smells like dirt. I'm not sure what. The one time I went to Hollywood Boulevard last year, and we went down the side streets and to get to there, because where we parked, it was a couple of blocks away, and I'm going down the side street, and there's this door open, and I was like, there's this smell, and I asked my daughter, I was like, is that marijuana? And she's like, yeah, because I don't know what marijuana smells like. But I know sometimes when I'm on the road, you get this loamy, this dirt smell. And I see the plastic canopies come up during the summer, and during the winter they're down. The change of seasons. I know one thing. This has been dry. This year, and I keep forgetting to mention this to Chris, is this year the roses bloom late. Last 2 years, in 2023, 2024, the roses, I could hear the birds and the roses as early as March. And then this year, I didn't hear the birds until about late April, 1st of May, and the roses didn't bloom until May. So whatever's happening. Yeah, I saw that Dynamax about somebody jumping off. Well, so Clifford, how's the gas there? I know that the whole gas prices. I passed like about 8 different gas stations, and there's a Chevron that I passed by that has always been around $5 in the past, especially in the past year, and just about a month ago, it came down to $4.99. Ever since 4th of July, it's been at $4.89. So it came 10 cents. That's the highest I've seen it in my area. Now, I mean, I've seen gas prices as low as right now. One place actually went down to 4.14. There's another one that I go by. It's like at 4.09. I think it's 4.09 last time I checked. I mean, it's even cheaper than the base. And so right now, I mean, they said that the new gas taxes were going up in July the 1st, but I told, just like I told Chris on Thursday morning, I said that I didn't think those gas taxes were supposed to take place until January 1st. So, people are, so far it has not gone up. Now, probably when schools, because this is what they do, they lower the prices during the summer, and then once school starts, they'll start jacking them up again. So we'll see how much they jack them up when school starts. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I have never seen gas prices so a broad spectrum of gas prices. Uh, I'm used to Texas where they have gas wars, so they try to keep gas down. And I tell you what, when I see these people paying gas prices that are, having gas anything less than $3, I'm thinking it may be high where you are at, but it's a lot lower. I mean, can you imagine just $2 would save? I mean, just $2 would save me half of what I pay in gas. I mean, I would be, for $2. I mean, just $2 difference. I would be spending less than $20 as opposed to as to what I pay now. I'd be paying about $20. I would be saving almost $15 in gas every time I got gas. So wow. Oh. Oh, how long ago was that, Michael J? $1.89. If we could go back to $1.89, wouldn't that be wonderful? I wish we could go back to 50 cents gas again. That would be wonderful. I don't know. It kind of makes me wonder about the petrodollar, though. I noticed when I worked with the, oh, nice, $1.89 or $1.89 and 1988. Wow. Yeah, I get you. I get you. Property taxes and insurance on vehicles. Yep. Hopefully that's going to be turning around. I can't remember if it's a state. Well, I think it's DeSantis in Florida is trying to get rid of property taxes. Yeah, I do too. I miss the 80s too. Oh gosh, I wish I could. Let me see if I can play a video. Let me see if I can. It's not going to. Let me see. I might be able to play a.
Yeah, I'm just getting ready. If you, but I can join you. You want to talk about some stuff? I think it'd be probably helpful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lots going
Well,
on.
so what do you? Okay. Well, what would you like to start with? I'm kind of like. I think I'm all out of ideas. I had my rant about what happened in with the raid this week that made national news and how everybody's oh, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, come on.
Lots of confusion. That's the word, right? Half right. Too confusing. Lots of confusion.
Well, I definitely think that there's something more to all that than what they're reporting. I think a lot of it is, but that's the
Right.
thing. That's the thing. It's like I said earlier. A couple of weeks ago, I played played a guy. He said that the false flags are going to ramp up. You're going to see a lot of these stories. This whole thing with Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, I I think it's part of the psyop. I mean, I just don't pay attention to these things anymore. It to me, it doesn't at this point. You just got to let things play out. Well, time is going to tell. I just I just hope we get the truth sooner than later. I hope it happens before Christmas. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, we sort of got the script, so to speak, years ago, not knowing how it was going to play out. So it's natural for us to be anxious, right? It's like we've been on the front of the bus, putting a lot of work into figuring out where we're going. We think we're heading a certain way, and then all of a sudden we get thrown a curveball. It's like, wait a second, is that what it is, or is there more to this? If we haven't learned anything, well, I don't want to speak for everybody. If I haven't learned anything, it's that whether you call it 5D chess, whatever you want to call it, it's the same thing that was used against us: situation, action, response. Right? You create the situation, knowing how the public's going to react, and then prepared to handle the response. I see that being used just the same, and it's frustrating. I heard you say right before I jumped in with you, we're both tired of the psyops. Abso-freaking-lutely. At what point does that become unhealthy, regardless of individual belief, right? And so that's the bigger picture. I don't think this movement was created for nothing. I don't think that was built up for all these years just to turn at the very end. I would have a hard time believing that. And in fact, we were shown ahead of time with the Q drops, if we're to reference that and hold it to its account, that this is sort of how it would play out. Obviously having to piece that together, but it seems that whatever Q is validating itself. It's anxious, exciting times, because we're not in a position really to affect. We just have to watch, in a sense, right? Because it's not that any action won't make a difference or any words that will make a difference. But if this was already in play, and we know a lot of this was handled not legally and lawfully done justice-wise, but the beginnings of this was years old. The 2017 beginning of these investigations, that's how many years ago was that?
That's 8. I mean, it probably is going even longer than that, but I mean, you're looking at least 8 years.
Yeah, you're right. 2016, I believe, is the beginning of this, where the things are headed, the unraveling of Russia, which is going to lead into 2020, which is the COVID, CCP, who's been manipulating us, is being unraveled slowly. And again, I have to remind myself, and I don't know, I'm just like everybody else, we're just trying to figure this out, but most of this stuff that we've been watching, I don't think is for us per se. It's the audience, right? Who's the intended audience? If those that bought the lies the hardest are going to digest or have a possibility of accepting a bigger reality of corruption, it's got to come in a way that's not through Trump. That's obvious. And Q actually told us that years ago. He's going to be insulated, protected, and sort of removed because they wouldn't, TDS is too strong. You know what I'm saying? So how this plays out, I don't know, but I can see a lot of things happening right now rather quickly. What we can say is everything is connected, and that's not overgeneralizing. When we talk about Epstein, when we talk about 2020, when we talk about Q, whatever all this is, it is all interconnected in ways that seem conspiratorial until you start investigating. And so that's what we sort of been living through, and it's weird times. It's not a time to fight each other, right? We got to rise above the, and I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just saying generally, right? This kind of confusion it always brings about infighting, which is a good diversion, a good diversionary tactic, right? So it wears us out, though. Holy cow!
Right.
Come on, go ahead.
I think, well, you think about Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, look at what's happening now. The Democrats. I mean, before Jeffrey Epstein was a conspiracy theory. Now it's release the Epstein files. If Trump was on it, why isn't he releasing it? Well, if Trump was on it, they would have released it a long time ago. Heck with who it was on it, because it's all about getting Trump. But here's my take on the whole Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
Is you got to have the people wanting it, but think of how dark Jeffrey Epstein is about. if you're talking about satanic ritual abuse and what they did to these kids, people are not going to be able to stomach it. I mean, I don't even want to go to the dark web to look at that stuff because my imagination is good enough. I mean, you see, you just, all you have to do is look at some of the TV shows and TV movies that, you
I,
have,
I,
I
I
mean,
think that's the
how
bigger
the,
point. What you just said there. Jeffrey Epstein is a name. It's an idea we've all associated. Even the left associates things with that. That has a lot of power to it. But this has nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. He wasn't the power player. He was a middleman. And the bigger picture is not about Jeffrey Epstein. And it's weird, it's because you start talking about the children, and it's almost impossible to not be emotionally invested in that because that's very real. And so we associate that with the children instantly, and we're emotionally tied to, wait a second, you're turning on us? This is about the children. Who's not associating that yet, and who's about to see that? I think that's might be the direction it goes, because Epstein is just a middleman. This is bigger than Epstein. This is bigger than Israel. This is bigger than Jew or any kind of preconceived tagline that's been created over the last 40 years. That's my take on it. I don't know, but it's hard to accept the quickness of it again, because I have to admit, again, the children. That's an area, like, if people really understood the truth on that, there would be no reason to convince them to stop paying IRS income taxes. They wouldn't care about a system if they saw the reality of that dark side of it, right? And not the best angle to approach people on, and certainly can't be done on a top-down level. That would push people away. So I don't know. We're in the middle of the show, the exposure that we were prepared for in some ways for many, many years. And that's why I appreciate this time just to converse. I don't really get to talk a lot like this with average Joes, right? So just any kind of like-mindedness, trying to figure it out. That's real good content, in my opinion. We can share videos and all that kind of stuff, but in my opinion, these kind of conversations is probably going through a lot of people's minds right now.
no, Megamama, it's still my show. It's just that I'm having computer issues, and Dana is coming on, is kind enough to come on and help me for this last 30 minutes. But one things I pointed out before too. I noticed about a month ago. When was it? About 6 weeks ago, when Pam Bondi came on and she was talking about the Epstein and everything. I noticed one of the things I noticed. She had dark circles under her eyes, like she was tired. And my thing is, who knows what she had already seen by then. So, I think, it's just not watching what they say, watch what they do. That action speak louder than words.
We're anxious for
watch.
some good fruit, right? We got to judge the fruit, right? And you're absolutely right. We got it. So we're like, wait a second, that doesn't sound like good fruit. We didn't put you in there to ignore that tree. That's a huge tree. The roots run deep. So we'll sit deep. I doubt he's going to betray us, because as powerful as MAGA and Trump and USA might be, the base of that is the spirit of those that individually got behind MAGA. And the potential for that, in my opinion, could be wrong, is probably the most powerful entity in the world right now, short of the dark side. Right? We can only imagine that, because I don't know. Mysterious dark side that nobody can ever ID or label or name. But the positive side, you don't build that up for nothing unless you turn on it. And if he turns on us, come on now. Like, I doubt all this work was done to just collapse everything systematic. It wouldn't be a systematic collapse, actually. It'd be a chaotic collapse. My opinion, there was a systematic collapse predestined before Trump got here. I saw it firsthand, and nobody would listen. But I think we've been saved from that. I hope that's true with Trump getting in 2016. I guess we'll find out soon. Very, very soon.
And that's the point. And I know you and I have talked about this before. Why would President Trump go through all this? He could have just threw us through the wolves in 2016. It also goes back to your belief in God too, because God saved us in 2016. Because you really think that we would be doing what we're doing right now in 2000? I think our lives would be a totally darker place. We would be in so much darkness right now.
Those
that.
FEMA camps are real. Those FEMA camps are real. You've heard of the FEMA camps, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was designed for anti-government resistors, and they were going to use COVID to create that scenario. We got a taste of that in 2020, right?
Well,
Yeah.
and think
So
about
yeah,
and
that's my opinion. I don't
and,
know, but
and think about Obamacare. I mean, Baby Rock says she's actually. I don't know. Baby Rock said she actually saw the guillotines on the military bases where she was, and that was through the Obamacare. Obamacare had guillotines ready for us too. I mean, the idea of getting my head chopped off does not appeal to me. So, but
yeah,
I mean, it's
there
like
were facilities being prepared for a massive event that we can only speculate on during the time. But any kind of awareness, you're instant conspiracy theorist, right? That seemed very real. All those, the black coffins, the millions of black coffins, or whatever, all that kind of stuff. That's speculation. We're just observing things. But what makes that real is when you read their own documents, and that's trendy now. But back then, it was Alex Jones and coast to coast and very isolated, small groups that were doing that on a large scale, at least. But the documents were out there just the same. Agenda 21 was very real. It was for everybody to see. It's just nobody was paying attention. Now we're
well,
into Agenda 2030, right? But that global systematic approach was always there. It's just now people see it.
yeah. Well, I mean, and I mean, I actually read Agenda 2030 because all Agenda 2030 is the same thing as Agenda 21. It's just that because of President Trump put a pause on it, they just added to it. And I even read the lockstep, which there was a whole scenario. They had 4 different scenarios for COVID. It was to get us into those. Every that time Biden opened his mouth, it was Agenda 2030 language.
Right.
Build Back Better came straight from Agenda 2030.
And they got to the point where they were writing books publicly, and Klaus Schwab, the Great Reset. It's like, okay, you can call me conspiracy theorist, but you're ignoring these books. Like anyhow, so it's now the world has changed dramatically, factually in the last since 2016. In a way that's I actually didn't see a way out. I was how do you wake up millions of people just to ask questions, not to fill them with answers because I don't know, but when they're just oblivious to it and just keep putting their best foot forward, it's sick. Because that's the nature of human. We'll almost never give up, and our work ethic is the direct relation to that. Humans will work to the bone, work themselves to death, and if that's not honored and respected, and it's actually used and abused, the definition of usury, money changers. Identify the money changers and flip the tables, legally and lawfully, of course. I
Well,
think that's what we've been living through.
and speaking of money changers, you saw that SCOTUS has IRS, was it IRS or SCOTUS, has approved President Trump basically saying that your spiritual leaders in the churches and wherever you place of worship, they're able to talk politics now. Well, that was already the case. It's just that these once they sold out to because President Trump reversed that back in his first term with the Johnson Amendment, and people forget about that. Because the optics of Biden being in the White House for the last 4 years, and so now we have, it's crazy.
Do you remember the story of the money changers in the Bible? Not to put you on the
Yeah.
spot, just generally, right? We've all sort of heard
Oh
it.
yeah,
Right.
it actually took place right before Jesus was going to the cross.
So what were they
Instead
doing? They were on the steps. They were in the temple, and what were they doing for the people, right?
Well,
As Pharisee
okay,
and
what it was is so you had the Old Testament sacrificial system, and God requires an unblemished sacrifice, right? You had to be perfect, as perfect as you can.
Right.
You couldn't have spots. It had to be perfect. Well, what was happening, some of these people were so poor that these money changers were selling, basically they were selling flawed sacrifices. They were, they didn't have legs, or there was a spot. They were not perfect. And so they were cheating the people. And speaking of cheating, that people don't realize is God set the regulations on your measurements.
Well,
and I'm thinking about gold.
yeah, no,
going back
you're
to-
jumping ahead, but yeah. So in a sense, they were the middlemen. They're trying to. They had the authority to say, "Hey, your sacrifice is either good or it's not." Right? Basically.
No,
And
I'm sorry. The priests were the ones that did that, but what the money changers were doing, they were basically cheating the people who were coming in to give up their
it got
sacrifice.
so corrupt that they got to the point where they were just cheating the people.
Exactly.
Right. Right. And so literally when he saw that, these people are their salvation in their minds lie on whether they get a good sacrifice or not. We look at that like, oh my gosh, well that's well at that time that was that was the reality. And so they were just systematically abusing the people. Obviously we can debate on the reality of the law and the sacrifice of, that's those times, but they got so comfortable in their usury that they just started creating clever ways of more deception, right? Like selling, like you said, reselling the same sacrifice over and over and over. And now, who is that? Is that the Jews, or is that the Pharisees, or is that the Hebrews, or who was the money changers?
That's a good question. If I had to guess, I would say it probably was all of them.
Who did they say they were?
They just said money changers. It could have been Gentiles selling the sacrifices too. But I think the bigger problem, though, the bigger thing was Jesus, because God's house of worship was being defiled. Because
absolutely.
God is holy, God is righteous, and by doing the cheating and the unrighteous, they were basically because they were lying and stealing. Not only were they stealing from the people, but they were stealing from God. They were violating the 10 Commandments. And when people talk about, when Jesus says the first commandment is love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, body, and soul, and then love your neighbor as yourself, that is the 10 Commandments in two statements right there.
So the temple is a physical location. It's also a representation of the body, correct?
The temple was the representation of God's presence.
But each of us is a temple in itself as a body, individual, right?
Right.
Is that fair to say?
That is a fair statement.
Okay, so we've lived in a world our whole lives where the money changers got so clever that they created a dollar where every person born into it obliviously exchanged their livelihood, their future, their hopes, their dreams, their very being, their very existence, their perception of reality for the dollar that was created by money changers. So they didn't just continue that system. They just continued to create more clever ways to the point where we have what's called secured deposits. We have paper products. I don't want to get too deep on this, but they got really clever. The money changers are still there. They've been there. Who they are, we can argue about, but we can all observe and witness what they've been doing. It appears that that's the battle, and what side Trump is on, what side the globalists are on. In my perception of things, it appears that's the battle. There's a battle to remove those money changers, replace that system with a true sound system, money system, and then, it's not going to take sin out of the world. It's just going to give a fair game where our reality isn't lies. Your whole life wasn't spent feeding a tax system that was just there to destroy your way of being, destroy your culture, destroy your country, and use that to take over other parts of the world. I don't know how evil you can get, and that's pretty evil. And so the money changer thing, to me, is the heart soul of this deception scheme, right? So I think that's we got the surface topics, Epstein, all this kind of stuff, very, very real because it's all connected. We got to get the people behind it and open to a newer future. But under all of that, to me, the money system is the big boy discussions that none of us get to be a part of, unfortunately. We're all sitting back waiting to see who sort of wins. In a sense, I think we already know who's going to win. It's just a matter of it playing out now and how far they'll go to save themselves, in a sense, moves and counter moves.
Yeah. But, let's see, I'm kind of reading chat too. Yeah, money wasn't allowed in that part of the temple, but to kind of I don't know, to tie it in, it's like imagine being enslaved for so long that you don't realize you've been enslaved, and the man that gives you the key for freedom, it being vilified. And I go back to Moses. Chris and I had this brief conversation Thursday morning. If you think about the Israelites, the children of Israel who left Egypt, and you'd think that they would have been happy that they would have gotten the keys to freedom, but they complained. They wanted to go back, and I just hope people will understand.
They didn't fulfill what God commanded them to do.
Mm-mm.
With Joshua specifically, it got to the point where, Joshua didn't succeed. Right?
Well, they did and they didn't. It depends. Some tribes, because what they did, well, for one thing, the biggest mistake that Joshua made is in one instance was that when he was tricked, I can't remember the name of the people right now. I've got all of that in my Rumble on my journey through the Bible, and when I covered that during Joshua, but I think it was the Gibeonites. The Gibeon, they were so fearful of God. They heard about Joshua. They were not the conquering per se, because God had given them the land of Canaan, but they were taking possession of the land that God had given them. That the Gibeonites actually tricked Joshua into making an alliance, and Joshua, instead of going to God and asking about it,
he did a deal with the devil.
But he also made a promise to him, so he had to honor that problem. So yes, in a way he did fail God, but he also, because God also, it's about keeping your word.
Well, that relationship between Joshua and whatever ites that was is still going on today, in my opinion, because it didn't fulfill the desire there of God.
But each tribe had to go in and claim his own land, and like the Ephraimites, they enslaved the people.
Who were they claiming the land from?
The people that were occupying.
Who were the people there?
The Canaanites, the different Hittites, the Perizzites,
the giants.
Not the giants.
Not the giants?
Not the giants at that point.
They didn't have giants back then at that time?
If they did, you got the Philistines, but I don't think the Philistines were living in that land at that time. And it's like, oh gosh, you're asking me to think.
Well, it boils down that it's a battle between the seed of the serpent and the seed of man. Mm-hmm. And the seed of the serpent was well established back then. That's where the giant bloodline, the hybrid, all that kind of comes in. That was well established back then, all throughout prehistory. It appears whoever was creating the hybrids was trying to get ahead of the game in that land and try to take territories, or it's like this moves and counter move thing. Because if this is true, if Satan is who we've understood him to be, right? Fallen angel, tried to battle against God, lost the battle, came down here, and he's trying to turn creation against him. It would be his doing to create the seed of the seed of the serpent, the hybrid, to battle us, to counter that. And so I don't know, but it appears that we're here as humans, and there's non-humans, or used to be, or there still could be, or there could be remnants of that. It's interesting. We can't prove it, but what we can prove is some of these royalties and families of royalties believe this themselves. And so we don't have to necessarily believe it, but if they do, what does that mean for us? So somewhere in the middle is the truth. It's fascinating as heck. I don't have the answers, but interesting.
Yeah, I mean, all I can really go by is what I've been reading in the Bible. And I mean, I don't know. I know people like, well, I studied this and I studied that, and I'm thinking, but I can understand why people want to study because uh, the society, because a lot of the thing about what's not necessarily talked about in the Bible is what was going on in the society. So the Bible is geared for the reader, but unless you do the historical features and find out, I mean, there is plenty of uh, secular documentation to actually prove that the Bible is true.
Where
Uh,
where does the desire to even track records come from? Take historical account. Why is that even in us?
I think because I don't know. I don't know.
It's deep.
I mean, well, I'm thinking. Well, you're getting deep. I'm thinking that people. Well, I mean, people want to dig for the truth. You know, Jesus says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one can come to the Father but by me." But you know, well, because we do have that sinful nature of man, and we want to know. You know,
How do
Adam
you
and
know
Eve,
if you grow?
how do you know if you grow?
Yeah, like with kids, you put them up against the door seal and you measure it, and then they get to see themselves. Wait, over every month
Well,
I've grown, and so we don't, in a sense, the basic sense of it, if we don't hold account what we do, how will we know where we're going?
I think that's where journaling comes in my opinion. I'm very bad when it comes to journaling because I always think, man, I don't want to be where I'm at, but I'm glad I'm not where I was. So
The truth with the
so if
capital T, right? The book of life, in a sense, you know.
you know, yeah, but you know, journaling is a very useful tool to show how far you have grown in your faith. I like when if you ever did the Bible study experiencing God with Blackaby, and I can't remember his last the other. There's two. One of the things they said, if you can't hear what God's telling you, or if you can't, go back and do what you were doing before. You know, whether some people may have been fasting at the time, or just it just maybe you're listening to music, Christian music all the time. Who knows? But and the other thing they did is I'm very big about spiritual markers. You know, that's another thing is like write down when you really knew what God was showing you. If you really want to get in tune with what God is wanting to tell you, write it down. And I've seen where that works a few times because my thing is I think, oh, I'm going to remember. I'm going to remember this day. I'll remember this day, and then I'm thinking, oh, did this happen? I don't remember anymore.
It's a good thing not one of us is responsible to keep track for the whole world, right?
Right. I mean,
it,
yeah, we're responsible for ourselves, right?
it's naturally in us to call bullshit and try to figure out the truth, whatever it is, and it's hard to fool somebody that keeps good records, right? If you're trying to prove them otherwise, and they have, hey, wait a second, I can say this, my life experience says this, and here's my records to show it. I don't know. It's just as a whole, humanity's growing. I don't know the end. I think the Bible shows us where it's going. If eventually we rise above this third dimensional reality, and we transform into a higher being, a higher dimensional being, and who knows when that begins. But while we're in 3D world, we get to have these good conversations and try to figure it out. It, just gotta always be aware that we're in a limited perspective. Otherwise, feels like overwhelming, right? If you look at it too big or too deep.
Yeah. It's like I said Thursday. I said, you know what? All this stuff with Epstein, all this stuff with well, and you talk about the flooding. Think about the floodings. God, there are two ways God cleanses: is through fire and water. And if you think about, and you think about the word mystic, what comes to mind when you think of the word mystic?
Mystic.
Think about the word mystic.
Sort of esoteric, ideas or sort of elusive truths,
I
or
think
I don't know. It's a good
I
word.
think of I think of mystic as like a satanic word. I think it's mysticism. You think about, you know, some people may say it's New Age. You know, it's the witchcraft component. That's what I think of when I think of the word mystic. And and the flooding in Kerrville, there may be something more behind the flooding of Kerrville. I mean, ever since I realized that our basically all of North America is connected with tunnels, it makes me think that some of this water is just maybe they're cleansing, they're cleaning out some stuff. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that this is what's happening. I am saying this is a theory.
We want to
on my
believe good
part.
things. Yeah.
You know, that's like I've been involved in different floods. I mean, in 2003 when Allison stalled over Houston for like, I think it was, I can't remember exactly how many days, like 20 days, and it just dumped all this water in Houston in 2003. I was actually a part of the disaster recovery team that went into Houston. I went with the Department of Insurance. I worked for the state at the time. And, I was just there to kind of, if they had problems with insurance, their insurance companies or whatever, filing claims, I kind of helped them with that. I was also I just, it just, this whole thing in Kerrville just was a flashback to me because back in 2015, there was a flash flood that happened in Wimberley. And I really think it was I think it was tied into our mayor race in Corpus, because Corpus has gone downhill. And when it comes to the mayor of Corpus at the time, because he was mayor during Katrina, and when Harvey hit, he said, I think it was him, he said that he wasn't making anything mandatory. He was not mandating, even though he lost family members in 2015. He lost a daughter-in-law, he lost his daughter-in-law, he lost his grandson, and he lost his granddaughter to a flash flood in Wimberley. And interesting enough, his son survived because he wasn't there. So I mean, the whole thing with Kerrville. I mean, again, I do not take anything at face value anymore. My whole thought is, okay, there's something going on, because I've seen it. It's like, why? I mean, again, this is another phrase I say over and over again: wash, rinse, and repeat. It's, you see once you start seeing the patterns, it's hard not to see them. It's hard not to sit there and say, "Oh, this is just an act of nature."
The hard part is, what do you do with observations?
Yeah.
Because we all see it. What do we do?
Yeah.
Observing is the first step, right? And so, if action isn't done in some way, the physical manifestation of the idea, nothing but frustration. That's on an individual level and on a group level. So when that's resonating as strong as it is, that didn't come out of nowhere. That was 10 years of work, maybe longer. So, you know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yeah. Powder Girl says Mystic Camp had some bad history, and the elite kids camped there. Well, think about all the celebrities who have come out and said we lost family members from Kerrville.
Yeah, there's a bunch of questions about these southern states. If you lived in any of them, you probably have heard stories of things. Texas is definitely one of those states with big money having control over small areas, with satanic ritual abuse, all that stuff. Sounded crazy in the 80s, but very real. It was going on back then. It's just people didn't want to believe it. But yeah, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California, every state really. But why is it these border states? Huh? What else is in these parts? A lot of military bases. And you said tunnels and stuff. Yeah, that's the natural sort of region of this part of the country, there's a lot of that underground stuff we can only speculate on. But it might be remnants of the seed of the serpent, just doing what they do best, still
Hey,
trying to take us over.
well, if you think about the history in Mexico with the Aztecs and the Mayans, you know, what was their biggest? What was the symbols they used to?
If you
worship?
like this conversation, I've been studying this stuff for a long time, and I've been on to Gary Wayne recently. Gary Wayne, I will throw his name out there. That guy, talk about a diligent researcher. He was a Christian that had a bunch of questions that nobody could answer, and he's like, every time he tried to figure it out himself, it would lead him to more and more. 35 years later, he's writing books and coming out, and he'd probably come on the show if we asked him, but he's put these pieces together in a very well-reasoned way. As a Christian, very good guy to listen to. It's I sort of follow what John Quillen says there. It's I don't get caught up in words. I'm not scared of a word per se. A word is just a word. It's trying to describe something. The fear might be coming in from people who understand the power of those words and use them against us to our lack of understanding. I think that's natural, but seeing a word like mystic doesn't scare me. It doesn't. I mean, what if I speak Japanese and I see the English word mystic? Am I supposed to tighten up? It has zero meaning to me as a Japanese person. It's just a word. It's just an idea. And so everybody's different with that, but being scared of ideas is a barometer, in my opinion.
Well, just to tweak a little bit. Are you seeing a lot of rain where you are?
No. Curiously, I'm not worried. I'm on Lake Livingston, north of Houston.
Uh-huh.
We're in the tributaries that go from Dallas, south from Dallas. Those floodings were Guadalupe, that's central Texas.
Yeah.
Eventually, it all sort of comes together, but that's a separate tributary. I can say if that were to happen here, oh boy. The Lake Livingston Dam has been under-engineered from the beginning, and they know it. So I don't want to put fear out there, but it's a real issue that they don't have a solution to if we do get that kind of rainfall here.
No, the reason why I asked, it seems like, because Corpus has been hit supposedly in
33 states in the last week had torrential kind of rains. 33 states. Interesting, huh?
right. I mean, it's just like I said. Oh yeah, 33. That magic number 33, right? Um,
Are we watching the
yeah,
water? Is that what the point is?
yeah.
I don't know.
I
Well, Dave,
don't
I do
either.
have some stuff for the show. I'm gonna move on to
Okay. Well,
this.
thanks
It's
for
a good
talking. Thanks.
conversation, though.
Yeah, and thanks for letting me hang around a little bit longer. So, yeah, I'm gonna sign off, everybody. I put my Rumble, and I'll put it out again. Please follow me on Rumble. I'm still trying to work out on doing live streaming. And when I do live streaming, I'm gonna start YouTube. I've got to figure out what's going on with my computers. Hopefully, I can get it fixed before Wednesday. Well, Wednesday night my time, and because I really want to continue. I'm so excited about live streaming on Rumble. Is so great, and doing my journey through the Bible studies live stream. So, guys, good. Y'all have a good evening. Thank you again, Dano.
Hey, Deb. I forgot while I was talking. I forgot to get all my stuff pulled up. If you could just give me like a minute to get my windows
Sure.
pulled up. I forgot.
Okay.
I had it already, and then
Uh,
we got in a good conversation there.
yeah.
Thank you.
Well, Dano is doing that, and so anyway, I will put out that. And if you want to help me, again, if you like, and yeah, I don't know. I may have to break down and get a new computer. I do not know, but I just at this point I just can't. That's the way it is, and so I wish I was better. I mean, I've actually had people reaching out to me saying, "Hey, you got good content, and I like your energy, but your system stinks." And I was like, "Yeah, I know, but you would help me for free. I can't do anything about it." So anyway, I just again, if
Yeah, it's hard to
wants
it's hard to do this from the hosting side, right? There's a lot
Mhm.
to this.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the resources,
keep it going.
Yeah, if you have the resources. Well, with
Yeah,
that being said,
you got it. You got to have technical stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well,
yeah. Thank you. I just had to pull up my chat windows. I don't want to leave chat out of it.
Okay. Well, you have a good one. Enjoy.
Thank you.
And,
Alrighty.
and I'll talk to you later.